previous module, we introduced the various stages of the creative problem-solving process. And we also talked about the importance of clearly formulating the problem before working on coming up with possible solutions. In this lesson, we're going to focus on the challenges of good problem formulation, and we're going to explain how the process evolves from opportunity identification and fact-finding to problem definition. We're also going to explain in more detail the two types of opportunity that you can use the creative problem-solving approach to address. First of all, removing a pain, or secondly, creating a gain. We're going to explain these two terms a little later. The intent of these lessons is to help you improve your problem-solving ability by allowing you to gain more clarity on the problem you're trying to solve, and then sharing with you a variety of different tools that you could deploy to get a better definition of the problem before moving on with the process. As in most things in life, practice is important. The more you practice creative problem solving, the better that you'll become at it. In fact, formal approaches to problem solving and the use of tools will help you improve your creative problem solving over time. And subconsciously, you'll begin to use this approach whenever you're problem solving, recognizing which might be the best tools to deploy at each stage of the process. The use of a formal problem formulation approach will help you ensure that the correct problem is being addressed. Such formal processes are even more effective in groups as they offer a more structured approach, and they help you define the problem formulation and guide the activities of the group as it moves forward through the various stages of the process, aligning both the process and the outcomes. All too often I see people trying to address the wrong problem, either because they're addressing a symptom of the problem rather than the cause of the problem itself, or because they actually have in mind already a solution and they're leaping to conclusions about the problem based on the solution that they want to force into that problem. This narrows down their range of options and often leads to suboptimal outcomes or ineffective solutions. We'll give some examples of this in later sessions. Let's start by agreeing that a problem is the difference between the actual and the desired situations. Creative problem solvers are those that see a problem as an opportunity. In the words of John Adams, every problem is an opportunity in disguise. Creative problem solvers are good at either identifying a current problem or seeing a new and novel opportunity not seen by others. In the first case, the creativity lies in coming up with a solution to an existing problem. In the second case, the creativity is in identifying a new opportunity that others may not have realized or thought about. I'm going to give a couple examples of each to explain the difference between problem identification and opportunity recognition. First, there are occasions when there's a well-recognized problem that's been identified. For example, limitations on current battery technology means that electric cars can't go as far as people would like them to. We call this a pain, and any creative solution to that problem would be a pain reliever. Second, there are novel opportunities for creating something useful that others might not have seen. For example, in 1990, Mike Lazaridis, an engineering graduate from the University of Waterloo, created a company called Research in Motion. And he was working on how to use a wireless network, the Mobitex network, to develop modems and point-of-sale systems to take advantage of the capabilities of this new network infrastructure. It was established by Cantel in Canada and Bell South in the US. The first application conceived in conjunction with Bell South was a two-way pager. The pager had been around for 30 years in one form or another, but it had always been one way. Mike, in 1996, came up with the idea of a two-way messaging interactive pager, which became the first in a long line of wireless technology devices from RIM. In 1998, the RIM 950 was the first wireless handheld device. In 1999, the BlackBerry 850 was the first wireless PDA. However, as Mike himself noted, because this was a gain creator and not a pain reliever, his biggest challenge was actually persuading customers that they needed it and wireless carriers that they should allow the new smartphone to be connected to their network. Really quite surprising that something that we now take as a requirement was so hard to persuade people they'll need. In 2014, Harris International conducted a poll and found that more people would be willing to give up sex than their smartphone. In subsequent lessons, we'll continue to identify approaches to help separate these opportunities and explain why getting people who know they have a pain to adopt your pain-relieving solution is actually quite different from persuading people who see a potential gain to adopt your solution. A brief example of this difference that I call painkillers or vitamins might illustrate the point. For example, if you had a headache and were passing a pharmacist, then you would likely go in, find a shelf labeled painkillers, there are lots of competing brands to choose from, and choose one based on price or maybe brand or physical properties. You would be highly likely to make a purchase, and then probably you would take the painkiller at once. The adoption challenge for a painkiller is to persuade the user you have a better solution than alternates. Conversely, we all know that we need vitamins, but even if you are near a pharmacist, the situation is quite different. There is no urgency to make a decision. You might simply keep walking past the pharmacist. Or even if you did go into the pharmacy, you might look at the vitamins and choose not to buy one. And even if you bought one, maybe you wouldn't take it straight away. You might not even take it when you get home. Creating demand for painkillers and for vitamins is therefore fundamentally different. It involves different strategies and different ways of stimulating adoption. We'll explain this later, but it's important that you understand this when you identify whether your solutions are painkillers or vitamins. Each does a different job for you. Painkillers need to show their effectiveness, while people selling vitamins need to communicate the benefits of taking them. In the next lesson, we'll explain in more detail how different types of opportunities can be recognized and then defined. As we've already noted, being clear and gaining consensus on the problem or opportunity without leaping to solutions too early is critical in enabling optimal solutions to be developed. This approach can enhance your choice of tool on both defining and refining the problem you're addressing. Before we leave this introduction to the problem definition stage of the creative problem-solving process, we should remember that it's important to properly set the stage for problem solving by clearly identifying not only the problem you wish to solve, but when and where it's happening, and also why it's important. Over time, the more you use these different approaches and tools to creative problem solving, the better you'll become at solving the problems.